You're good, okay. This work session of March 10th, 2025 comes to order at 6:03 PM. And could you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Brusher.
Here.
Councilmember Coyle.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Patel. Councilmember Patil.
Here.
Councilmember Pointer.
Present.
Councilmember Shmuel.
Here.
Okay. Madam Clerk, adequate notice?
Adequate notice that this meeting is required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided by the annual notice sent to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, Desi Talk, and News India Times on November 18th, 2024, and posted municipal complex on that same date.
Thank you very much. We go to number 4, review of the minutes. Any comments on the minutes of the work session of February 24th and the regular meeting of February 26th? Okay, seeing none, let's go to the number 5, unfinished business, ordinances for further consideration, public hearing, and final adoption. Any council comments on either 2245 or 2246?
Council President.
Yes.
Again, thank you, Council Vice President, for coming up with this ordinance. It's a really great ordinance. Only I have a few questions on that in terms of the liability. Say if an individual or a company comes forward who would like to adopt a specific area to maintain, how we are going to comply or check that they are following or they are carrying the liability insurance and there is no harm to the township?
Yes, Councilman Coyle.
Thank you. So how the ordinance is written is that under insurance, it's technically under the guidance of the township as to whether insurance is required or not. Now, that's going to depend on risk factor in terms of location. As an example, adopting out Capestro Park by my house would be less risky than saying adopting Amboy Avenue, just based on traffic flow. In terms of if the administration determines that insurance is required, I would imagine that they would have to have a copy of that liability insurance, and then whomever is following up, but I could defer to Sonia to maybe advise a little bit more on that.
Actually, Councilman, I would defer to our counselor about any liability insurance. It may not be required other than perhaps a hold harmless, but I'll defer to counsel.
Thank you. So generally, it would not require a copy of the entire policy. It would require a copy of the declaration sheet to make sure that insurance coverage was in place and the hold harmless and indemnification clause would protect the township from any liability for negligence by the entity that entered into the Adopt an Area program.
No, it's easier. It's very easy to say that, we would need a deck page. We call it an insurance term deck page, which is the declaration page, which will list out what's the liability coverage is. But how the township will enforce, because I can call insurance company, get the quote, underwrite the policy, pay the premium, in a week I will cancel it. Township will never know whether I cancel that policy. That's what my point is. And how do we enforce the township will not be held accountable or?
So your statement is not necessarily correct. Every insurance policy that names a municipal entity as an additional insured has a provision in it that the township will get notice within 30 days before the policy is terminated for any reason.
Can you double confirm that? Because I work in the insurance industry and I can tell you that not necessary every insurance company will send the cancellation policy to the what we call as an additional endorsement, the entity like the township. I don't think township can ask for the certification of the endorsement, but township not necessarily will get the copies renewed or canceled or what happened. That stays with the owner of the policy.
But the
there is
township
also-
isn't, I'm sorry, sir.
There is also a possibility that, it's likely that insurance can get transferred, the carrier can get transferred, and you'll have no way to know any loss runs or anything that is associated with that property. Again, I'm trying to protect the township. As I said, like, it's easier said than done. As long as we have some provision in the ordinance somewhere that if the entity, that whether it's an individual or company, fails to comply with the insurance policy or they do not carry, where that loss goes, again, is that goes on the individual as a personal guarantee or where it goes if they don't have the insurance?
I'm sorry, can I answer now?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm sorry I interrupted you earlier. Every time the township is an additional insured or is named as an owner on a performance guarantee or any other kind of surety, the provisions of the requirements prior to them getting the approval to move forward requires that the insurance company agree that the township will receive notice 30 days prior to a cancellation of any policy. That's just the way it is. I appreciate your concern, and it's valid, but it's been addressed, and the municipality won't have any issues with it.
Can you give me in writing that if the insurance company will notify the township if the insurance is canceled? I don't think it's an additional insured. It's up to the policy owner to notify the township or the additional insured that there is a change in the policy. There could be change in the coverage. There could be lot many things can happen. Just to give an example, if I, as a resident, is adopting an area which is high risk, township might need a $10 million or maybe, I don't know, $50 million as the liability insurance. I might get the policy and then I go and change to cut my cost down to say $1 million. Township will still be an additional insured on the policy. Township will have no way to know how the policy is impacted or how the policy changed. And that's my question there. As long as it is covered, again, I'm trying to protect the township. The intent is to protect the township because attorneys comes and goes, the council will come and go, but in future, if any incident happen, there has to be placeholder to secure that, our liability part.
Council President,
Yes, Councilman Coyle?
I understand part of it. We're talking about the Adopt a Spot program, right? I mean, I think it's fair if there's an application that we provide that they give notice to the town of their insured, we're on there as notified when they cancel. Also, in addition, from what I understand, when we had Jay Elliott as director, Clean Communities picks up insurance for anybody who volunteers in a program, as long as they notify that we're cleaning that day. We do cleanups on Edway Avenue. We notify Jay that we're cleaning. Our teams notify Jay. So they're fully insured that day by Clean Communities Act. But I do understand your point. You raised a good question, that part of the application, part of the agreement, that each year you provide your insurance. Also, we're additionally notified in case of cancellation.
Correct. And Councilman, again, thank you for adding that additional information. We call those as an event insurance. Event insurance, yes, that community program will give if there is a cleanup program on XYZ date. Yes, for that day, it will cover, including all the volunteers. Here, we are talking about adopting a location. This is a long term. And that's where I'm saying, as long as it's covered, and I will appreciate if attorney can send me a written understanding and confirming, so it stays on a record that what attorney is saying is the truth. Thank you, Council President.
Council President, if I may interject?
Yes.
So regardless whether so the work is covered, and that's really what the insurance, from their perspective, holds. However, our insurance covers the spot, regardless of what happens. Somebody crashes into the place, any sort of liability, if God forbid somebody gets injured. So it's covered. If your concern is regarding about the general coverage of the area, the township has insurance for that, first and foremost, for any occurrence. So the liability ultimately is within the township, certainly. The work itself is on the entity that's doing the Adopt a Spot, but there's coverage there. So there shouldn't be no concern in terms of in the event something were to happen.
Again, thank you. That will be your master policy that will cover the properties owned by the township.
not-
I get that.
Yeah, it's not my policy. It is the general policy
Correct.
of our coverage.
That's what I call as the master policy. It's a blanket for any property that is owned by the township. However, I don't know, we have the work com under that because this is the area now is adopted by an entity. God forbid anything happens to those individuals, they might have the general liability coverage, but if you are not checking their work comp insurance, then that becomes a hurdle. We don't know who is going to work there or who they are going to employ.
So Councilman Coyle's analysis in terms of the volunteer is just spot on in terms of how that would cover. And I can certainly reference any insurance documents for you that covers the township and any individual that is within the township's limits, especially performing work, whether it's on a volunteer basis or they get paid.
Understood, and I'll be happy
That I can provide to you.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll look at, I
Okay.
will need that
Thank
coverage
you.
of the policy. Because again, two types of general liability as well as the work comp policy will be important for this.
So Councilman Patil, what you need from Counselor here is what?
First thing is I need the affirmation on the statement he gave that it's a covered, and the township will get the copy of anything that happens to that policy, changes to the policy, that I need the confirmation from attorney. The second one is, Sonia said, she will give the copy of the township insurance. Hopefully that covers the general liability as well as the work comp, anything happens. Because we will not have any control who that entity is going to employ to do the work there. It could be third party. Again, the third party is supposed to have the insurance, and the additional insured will be the entity who is hiring. At the same time, the township will also be on their policy, but again, it's a chain of the policies, and there's an easy way to get lost, and then it's a finger pointing who is going to cover the losses there.
Okay, all right. So Counselor, are you able to get what he needs?
I'll be happy to provide you with the entire council with an email that says what I just said,
Yes.
because it's factual.
Yeah, that's what he's asking for.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what he's asking for. Okay. Any other questions about 2245? Or comments? Okay. 2246, which has been amended,
Everyone should have a copy in front of them of
Yeah,
the amendment.
yeah.
But we need a motion to
right. So
accept the amendment.
can we get that motion to amend the changes that have been made to 2246?
Okay, the question is how substantial the changes are.
I highlighted them.
Yeah,
I know, again, this-
they're pretty simple. The changes really, it goes,
To add,
the health department is now added into township personnel that are involved in this, and the provisions of the article shall be overseen and enforced by both health department and the zoning officer or their designees.
Is there any reason we are not saying and for 25-17.5 in violation? The health department or zoning officer, but for the enforcement, we are saying and health department and zoning officer. Again, I'm trying to ask the question from who owns the responsibility of enforcement as well as issuing the violations?
Okay, all right, Sonia?
So the reason for the amendment was that the health department already enforces the grass and growth, so that's why they're in there, and it would be their responsibility.
Is there a way to make it and then instead of or?
If it's the will of the council, it shouldn't be an issue. As far as enforcement, it would be the health department.
Either we can change either place or and.
Okay. All right.
Councilman, so the answer to your question is the proposed changes expand the enforcement authority to either or of the health department
Understood.
or the zoning officer. It gives you more leeway and more manpower to enforce the different parts of the ordinance.
No, that's
And
understood.
it's not a substantive change, it reflects the reality of the way that the township enforces these types of issues.
No, it's understood. The question is, can we be consistent in both the places, either say or both the places say
Now,
and?
this, on D, it does say the provisions of this article shall be overseen and enforced by both the health department and zoning officer or their designees.
That's fine. That means either or.
But
Okay,
Both means either or?
okay, I don't know.
They don't both have to issue the same violation that would be unwieldy in the real world. So when you have multiple entities handling enforcement, you give both the power, but you don't require that they both have to act in concert.
Councilman Patil, would you be more comfortable if it, instead of saying both, it would be either or?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason I'll tell you that, again, I had questions on that, why certain series of events happened before the ordinance
Right.
ordinance is adopted, and that's where this question comes in.
Yeah, yes, yeah, and there is, you're right, Councilman Patil, there is an inconsistency between what it says in, under B, A, where it says township personnel authorized by the health department or zoning officer, whereas it says both in there, so I think we need to make the language consistent.
Council President, if
Yes.
I may, Councilman Patil was alluding to enforcement that may have happened or an issue that may have happened prior to this. The reason you have the bamboo here is because our ordinance, current ordinance, addresses invasive species. So this further clarifies that, and a warning was issued with regard to invasive species. So I just want a point of clarification that this is the reason why the bamboo. However, our staff did what they were supposed to do in terms of issuing a warning, not a violation necessarily.
No,
Just wanna
I
clarify
understand that, and I will have more questions on that, but let's get this consistent, and then I will have the questions on that.
Council President?
Yes,
I'm okay with the wording because it says that township personnel can be sent by health department or zoning officer, and it will be, overseen by both health department and zoning. It makes sense to me, so I'm not sure what the change is intended to do.
See, the two things, one, what I'm saying is either make it or and an or make it or both the places, or make it and both the places. The reason I'm saying is if health department gives the violation, and your zoning officer is trying to enforce it.
No, but in the event of a violation, health department or a zoning officer can go, but the person in charge of it is both health department and zoning officer. So it's alluding to two different things. So it makes sense in the way it's worded, at least to me. Counselor,
yeah.
your opinion?
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, go ahead, Counselor?
I'm sorry. I'm okay with changing it to either or and/or. You get to the same place, it just makes it clearer.
Clear.
If you would prefer and/or, that's fine.
Right, yes, on the D section. So Councilman Patil, would you prefer either or and or?
Doesn't matter. As long as it's consistent, I'm fine.
Okay, all right. So can we do that here and now?
Yes.
Okay, all right, all right.
Council President,
So, yes, Councilman Coyle?
I just want to comment, and again, I will be supporting the ordinance, but I just want to waiver the understanding that this is a property line issue, it's a civil matter, and it's challenging that we get into the backyards of others and distinguish what they do and not do in their backyard. Today, if I grow a tree too large, my neighbor, and I choose not to cut it, my neighbor can just cut it. Or they could, have a civil suit to make me do something. So I'm just challenged with how this will go for the amount of people we have that are growing bamboo across the town. I'm sure more people are growing marijuana in this town than bamboo. But I just want to cover that civil part of it. It's just challenging. We're going into backyards of people's homes to say, you can't do this, and if you do this, it spreads. We're gonna take taxpayer money to enforce an issue that is a neighbor side issue that'll eventually go to civil court anyway. Because it's pretty serious when they dig this out and they do the work, and we have to supervise and come back. But again, I get it. I'm just sharing. It's always been a civil matter. It should continue to be a civil matter, and we should just, not allow it and put it in part with the other plants that we decided not to have in Edison. But I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know that we're looking to have people dig it out. I know that's extremely labor intensive. I think it's about controlling it and cutting back where necessary. Is that correct? if it gets out of control, if it's going past a property line, we're looking to cut back, not to take it out by the roots. Is that correct?
Well, the issue is the roots, because yes, absolutely. So it is, it spreads, and the roots are very long, and that's why it's here. It's considered an invasive species. So that's really the issue. Now, look, I think at the end of the day, this goes to any sort of enforcement, really, and talking about, to hit the point about it being a civil issue, I mean, that can come with anything. However, from the township standpoint, if we get a phone call from any resident regarding an issue, certainly we have to do our due diligence and go there and make that determination. So that's the clear direction that I'd have to give to the staff. So I just want to be clear.
Okay. All right. Any other comments before we get a motion in a second?
I have quite a few questions there. I think, we did discuss about the grandfathering of the, the situation, and my council colleague did touch on that. The question that I was bringing, yes, in Asanya, you said the warning was given by the health department because we have the ordinance, but which is not clear. It's still right. But our zoning officer went and gave. No, zoning did. Can you please confirm? I can bet on that.
I did. I have.
If you ask Mr. Ayot, come next council meeting on Wednesday, I will ask him. He went with the violation, he took it back.
That's not necessary, but before Mr. Ayot went to go visit and he did anything, there was already a violation issued by the health department. I certainly don't want to, back and forth, but that is exactly what happened.
So can you please bring Mr. Ayot next council meeting? Because that's a fact, I know, because he's on a camera.
That's just not necessary.
He's on a camera, that he is issuing the violation, which he took back.
If that's the case, certainly I can clarify that with him. I don't want to
I'll
have
send you the
hearsay. That's.
I will send the video. Again, I'm telling you the fact.
Yeah, I think
right?
that's neither here nor there, but if you go ahead and let me know what you want to.
Absolutely, but what you are telling me is not a fact. The health department did go issue the warning, which was okay. But in that neighborhood, there are a lot of people who have the bamboos. Then the next week, zoning officer goes and issues the violation. When the owner said, hey, this bamboo ordinance is not yet adopted, why you are giving the violation? He complained, there are too many bamboos around, why you are singling me out? That's the time he took it back. He didn't give the violation, but he had the violation written. And he's on the camera. So what you are saying is that the health department went, yes, the first time did. Second time, our zoning officer went there to give the violation. So the question is, before even the ordinance was adopted, the zoning officer is going and issuing the violation. That's a bigger question. But coming back to the bigger question here, grandfathering. We spoke about this issue. It's next to impossible to prove, who planted the bamboo around the fence. How we are going to enforce? And if you go in the north end of the town, because I know that area very well, there are too many places. And that is where I'm talking about the enforcement. Enforcement cannot be singled out, like give violation to one entity versus another entity. It cannot happen. And I will be happy to bring those evidences here on the council dais the way I just gave it now. It's very unfair for somebody who is grandfather. So we need to put some sort of rules around saying, hey, the grandfather bamboos are there, and how do we mitigate? Is there a way that they can work with the neighbor to maintain those or clean those out so that it doesn't spread? It's going to spread. But if you're asking the grandfather bamboo owners to dig and remove, just remember these lots are huge lots. It's going to be next to impossible. They're going to spend fortune to remove that. And that's what I'm saying. Is there a way that we can probably come up with some sort of a rules and regulations around how do we enforce this ordinance for the grandfather bamboos? That's my ask.
Counselor, can you respond to that?
No.
No, you can't respond to it, or no, you?
I can respond to it. The answer is no, you can't.
Okay.
It's either grandfathered or it's not grandfathered. The way that the enforcing agents deal with it, we're always looking for compliance. We're never looking for someone to be violated or pay money unless they don't comply. The way your ordinance is drafted and the way your prior invasive ordinance was drafted, property owners are responsible for issues that go beyond their property line. It's just the way it is.
Okay, let
I'm
me
sorry if it costs money, but if you're going to have an ordinance that is meant to contain the species, be it bamboo or any other invasive species, to the property boundaries, it has to be to the property boundaries. If you're going to permit it to be grandfathered, then it's grandfathered. You can't have it both ways.
So that's the question there. Is that grandfather allowed? You're not clarifying the question here. The question is this ordinance is written in a way that there is some way for the grandfather properties to maintain?
Yes, as long as it stays within their property boundaries.
Yes, and that was my question, right? As long as it is within their properties, but even if it crosses somebody's properties, and if they are willing to maintain or work with the neighbor, can they do that?
I'm never going to tell you that neighbors should not work with each other, but you're asking whether or not the township could force neighbors to work with each other, and the answer to that is no. We have an ordinance. The ordinance grandfathers in prior invasive species. If it's contained on your own individual properties, there are no issues and no ordinance violation.
So what I'm understanding is we already have the ordinance, which Sonia, you confirm, and we failed to enforce that, and that's why we are kind of clarifying. That's what I'm getting into that?
I have to correct you there. There's no failure to enforce. Like any policy brought to the council, it's usually for clarification. So I know Councilman Brescher had brought this up, the bamboo, and there was some concerns. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that, but there's no failure, rather there's clarification so that there's a clear process of enforcement.
Okay. Would you mind giving, by next council meeting, before I vote, how many summonses or the violations were issued for bamboos in last 3 years? If the ordinance is really enforced, I would like to see how many violations were issued.
So any violation would refer to invasive species.
Correct.
So
Yes.
I could try to gather that up for you. It may take a little longer than 2 days.
Okay, then that's a bigger question here. So we are saying grandfather is not allowed. So we are going to say that we are going to enforce this even for the grandfathered properties, which is way bigger issue than what we are contemplating here. And that is what I'm asking. If we already have an ordinance, and if you're enforcing it, I don't know why we really need the clarification calling this out, saying, hey, you need to comply with this, because this is resulting issuing the summonses and the violations now. That bothers me. Either we follow our standards and continue to enforce the ordinances that we have currently, and then look at the opportunities to streamline and then issue the violations. We can't go both ways.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman
I
Coyle?
just make a motion to move forward. We're 15 minutes on this topic. I do appreciate everybody's words of the council, but I just think it may be beneficial to move forward on this. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not such a fan of necessarily saying that an X amount of minutes per council person right now.
15 minutes over bamboo.
I
We don't
take
give
that
15
under,
minutes to
I take that-
opioids. We don't give 15 minutes to,
I take that under
So many
advisement,
things.
Councilman
Okay, no
Coyle.
problem.
Thank you. Councilman Patil, anything else?
No, again, I'm disappointed. This council will be supporting something that we didn't enforce. Again, I'm using the word carefully, and then we need to clarify, and then we're going to punish somebody who is grandfathered. Again, there are people who have the grandfather bamboos. They will come this Wednesday, this council meeting, and maybe next council meeting to make the noise. So better to clarify rather than just push it. I know my council colleagues just want to go home quickly, finish the meeting, but that's not the intent of this work session. It should be fully discussed, fully vetted out. Everyone should understand what are the pros and cons, and then vote with the good intent. Again, as I said, that I fully support controlling, but we do have to factor the grandfather properties. That's what I was calling. Again, they should maintain it. I get that. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. President, as far as I understand it, as long as they maintain it in their property, there should not be any issues. So they should be grandfathered
He's saying no.
I think that's what the counselor, just to clarify, as long as it's maintained within their properties and it doesn't go outside their properties, it should not be an issue.
It's not a violation, correct?
Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we need a motion to amend the changes, including the wording on D. Need a motion to amend the changes?
Motion to amend?
Second?
Second.
Okay, very good. All right, let's get a roll call.
Councilmember Brusher.
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Patil.
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer.
Yes.
Council President Harris.
Yes. Okay,
Madam Clerk,
yes.
would have been me.
Oh, you
Oh, I'm
forgot.
sorry, Councilmember Shmuel.
Yes.
Oh, because I had you a second.
Okay, all right. From the Business Administrator, number 6, anything about A and B? Okay, seeing none, we go on to 7, Department of Finance, A through G.
Council President?
Councilman Brescher.
Yes. D. This is given out to disabled veterans typically. And I've noticed this, throughout my years on council. This is something that actually I'm very happy that the township's been doing. It's something, I guess, but we can't take credit for it. This has been done quite some time ago. But looking after our veterans like this, I think is a very, very good thing. So happy to support anything with our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brescher. Anyone else for 7A through G?
Council President,
Yes, Councilman Pointer?
in regards to item G, we have to do these annually because it's done through resolution. Do I understand that correctly? And is there any thought to increasing that minimum limit? And I'm just thinking in general, just costs are going up anyway. I know this is something that Councilman Patil has brought up before, whether that amount, depending on how much we actually have appealed to us, whether that amount should be risen or not.
We've had that discussion in the past. The tax assessor has requested it. After review and discussion with the administration, we felt that 10,000 was reasonable to give her that discretion because that covers most of the appeal activity at the county tax board. And generally, appeals above $10,000 come from the tax court. And those are generally major, and we'd like to have the opportunity to review those.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't trying to insinuate going lower. I just wanted to make sure 10,000 was enough, that it didn't have to be 15,000 or 17.5, whatever that was. Thank you, Council President.
Anyone else for 7A through G? Okay, moving on from the Department of Health, number 8, A through C. Questions, comments?
Council President?
Yes, Councilman Pointer.
For items being C, these numbers may not be available right now, but if I can just get what Metuchen and Highland Park's expenses have been over the past couple of years. I'm presuming that analysis has already been done and this amount is enough to cover that. I just want to make sure.
It is, and we'll provide that report to you by tomorrow
Thank you.
to the entire council.
Great, okay.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman
Yeah,
Brescher.
on the same note, if I can get the formulas that you used to generate that, whatever matrix you use for, if I can just get a copy of that.
We'll do that also.
Thank you.
Councilman Patel?
A question on A. So this will be added to the funding we got from those lawsuits. What's the total for that now, for the substance abuse?
Oh.
Are you referring to the Municipal Alliance?
I'm
Fund?
referring to A for the grant that was granted for substance use disorder. I would assume it was with the same purpose to the opioid lawsuits, and we got a couple of millions for that.
Are you referring to how much we have in opioid funding?
Yeah.
I want to say in the near millions. 13 million. No,
And do we
it's a
have,
little off.
yeah, do we have plans as to what are we gonna do with it?
We had put out an RFP a while ago, and we're looking through all of the submissions so that we could qualify for a couple things between senior services and then substance abuse programming that we could offer to residents.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else, A through C? All right, moving on to 9, Department of Planning and Engineering, A and B. Questions, comments? Okay. From the Department of Public Works, A through D. We good? Okay. 11, Department of Recreation, A through F. Okay. 12, Chief of Police. Questions? Okay. From the Township Clerk, A through D. All right.
Council President? We'll be adding one more, the resolution.
I'm sorry?
We'll be adding the Wednesday's resolution right here.
The,
Resolution for recognition for
oh,
Wednesday.
yes, that will be added. I guess that would be E, it's the Lions Club, correct? Yes, that will be on Wednesday's agenda. Thank you, Councilman Pontiel. All right, anything else for 13, A through D? All right, we move on to oral petitions and remarks. All right, Joyce?
Speaking for the people in my townhouse association.
Name.
Grace Ship Freeman, Edison, New Jersey.
Thank you.
All right. First, we have a murder on Clive Hills, a place where we aspired to be when growing up as children in Edison. Very, very beautiful place. Then, like a couple of blocks from me, there's this horrifying home invasion. So where I live at is very close to these things that's happening. So they're very, very terrified. And they don't like the fact that people keep telling them that crime is going down. They're like terrified. They're like terrified at night. One thing that good came out of it, we have the Bottom Town Deli, and they have like spotlights out all over the place. But, you know, the crime keeps getting closer and closer to our door at all. So, and also, I wondered about our food desert, because I'm looking around and Mayor Mack is getting Trader Joe's at this store, that store. He's like, you know, long as you cross over the line to go to Woodbridge, you have some place to purchase some food. Another thing I'm interested in is that I know before, I'm not even getting into that trip to Washington, D.C. with the police officers and stuff, but people would like to know if at all, when they have the mayor's events in Washington, D.C., do we send a security bunch of police down there with the mayor each time they go down to Washington, D.C.? Okay, and I wanted to know, like with the Bamble stuff that he was alluded to, that this questioning whether the person, the zoning officer can give you a fine one day and the next time the health person can come give you one. So would you be getting 2 different ones from the 2 different departments? This wondering for a point of clarification. And last time, when I asked about the incurred debt from 2021, believe me, when I ask you a question, and it's a financial question, I got some notes and stuff, and I speak to people, and they tell me what's really happening. So I was told at that time and brushed off that it was online. But at that particular time, when I looked at it, all the things I asked for were not online. All right? So I try to be nice because, you know, if you say one little thing, people get offended with you, and then they try to throw you out of a meeting. And you're asking this very, very important business questions. You would like to know those things. So I just want to know that I'm very, 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 more than anything else I talked about, I'm very, very just nervous, very nervous living in this town because, you know, senior citizens in my house, and I have some other people that live like close to me that have children and stuff. And then with a pregnant woman, it's just horrifying. I'm just really, really nervous behind this, you know, and I'm wondering that if all of our police are going other places with other people, who's out there guarding me? Thank you.
So Joyce, real quickly, before, your question about debt was,
Yeah, the debt occurrence from 2021, what was that debt occurrence at that particular time? And then we had another debt accumulated for 2024, right? And somebody was asking me about it because I knew before with Kendra Roberts, we had put all this stuff together before before the mayor, Tom Lanky, had left here.
Okay.
So, you know, when they were telling me, I guess they didn't fix the fire system yet. Oh,
okay, thanks, Joyce.
I heard there was a problem.
Thanks, Joyce. Okay, let me go with her questions. The first question is, I think there was a question about, does the mayor, the events that the mayor has out of town, is security provided for him when he is out of town?
Council President, as far as and this has been answered before, there's no information with regard to any detail. It's a security issue. I could certainly refer to the attorney on this.
I don't know if the mayor has been provided security or not, but the way that elected officials get protected is a matter within the discretion of the Public Safety Department, and they know better than we do. Whether it has happened or not, I honestly can't answer, but we do not want to disclose the particulars of the way that elected officials are protected, because that would defeat the purpose.
Okay. Next question was about bamboo violations, and I think, Joyce, the spirit of your question was, is it possible there would be double dipping if you have health and zoning? Is there possible that there would be double dipping, that they would get, the same person could get a violation from the health department and from the zoning department?
Theoretically possible, highly unlikely. And even if that were to happen, again, we're not looking for violations, we're looking for compliance. So if I was on the other side of that and I had two separate departments looking at me, I would do my best to comply.
Okay, all right. And then the question about the debt for accrued 2021 and in 2024, I think, Cheryl, you mentioned to me.
All the financial statements are on the website. All the debt statements, all the budgets, it's all under finance on the website.
Okay, all right,
Financial documents.
all right. Thank you, all right. Vinnie?
All right, how you doing? Can we get revision dates on these? Because these seem to change every other meeting, like a date, and then
A revision date on what, Vinnie?
on the rules of this meeting.
You mean the decorum rules?
Yeah, the welcome to the council chambers. Can we get a revision date, because these seem to keep changing every like 2 weeks.
No, it should be the same as it was when I first had put them
When you
out
first
there.
started? Okay.
Yeah, it should be the same. Nothing, there's nothing that I've put down there to change.
Okay, so I'm here to talk about the rights that have been stripped away from Christo. The so-called prop ban, that was never about order. It was about silencing those who followed him. This council has gone to extreme lengths to shut down Christo. You have limited public speaking time, used litigations like Avaspa to keep him out of meetings. You blocked evidence, sound clips, and videos from being played during these very sessions. You've thrown every roadblock in his way. Why? Because he asks hard questions? Because he speaks the truth? For years, certain individuals in power worked behind the scenes to go after one man, attempting to frame him for an arson that never happened. They even tried to connect him to the drones flying over New Jersey. Think about that and how absurd that sounds. A flag ban became a tool not to serve the public, but to destroy an individual's reputation. And the attacks didn't stop there. They targeted him again. This time, they targeted him again, this time to be the first person forced to publicly question the rape allegations. This is an abuse of power. Let's talk about the prop brand, a direct attack on Christo's following. It was never about maintaining order. It was about suppressing voices, and the proof, the moment the backlash hit, you guys scrambled to cover it up and dropped everything. That alone tells us what this is really about. Let's talk about what's happening in Edison. This town is darker than ever because of the corruption, literally. The council, the mayor, the power players, they want to keep everything in the dark, but the truth is coming out to light. Which brings me to the bigger question. Why is Mayor Sam Joshi so protected? Why was there never an attempt to process the rape charges? Why was the mayor having meals with the head prosecutor of Middlesex County? Is that how it got swept under the rug? Why is Mayor Sam Joshi so close to the governor of New Jersey? What political favors are being traded behind closed doors? What is the mayor's salary? What is Chief Tom Bryan's salary? The people of Edison deserve to know what elected officials are being paid, especially when so many refuse to do their jobs honestly. There are so many issues of law enforcement in Edison that are being used to intimidate or suppress certain individuals, and the growing concerns about harassment and retaliation against residents who criticize the council is something that needs to be addressed. Public participation, should it be punished? So I ask you tonight, will you answer these questions, or will you continue to sit in silence? Yeah, that's all I got.
Vinny, the salaries, that's a matter of public record. That's, there's nothing hidden there. That's a matter of public record.
Also, is the mayor, you know, you guys saw the mayor of Dalton, right? I think there's some relation to the way the mayor has his goon squad and his security detail, and he uses the town credit card. We can't get invoices that he spent on his vacation. Why can't we get that? Why can't we know?
All right. Can we do something about that? Can we get a motion to do something about that alarm? Okay, all right. Yes, Anthony. Oh, I'm sorry, Anthony.
Thank you. Anthony DeAmron, 25 Wiley. As far as the mayor's security detail, I heard the attorney bring up public safety. The only thing is the mayor is the public safety director, so I guess he is the first, the last, and the only that gets to decide this. Again, I think he should step down as public safety director. I think we've seen enough. If this was the public sector, I don't know how much more we have to see for, at least for this part, the public safety director to get somebody in here with experience, law enforcement background, council president, that could help deter this crime. It's, you know, I constantly think myself of ways, you know, that we could work within what we have. But, you know, one of the questions I had was, you know, things like the state police. We have a state police here. I mean, if we're light on the road and there's an accident on one of the state roads, what is that, 27 or Route 1, whichever one it is, why can't the state police help out and take those reports and, you know, free up some of the patrol officers, especially at night, and you know, to go on calls. I don't know why, you know, that's, if it's a state road, maybe the state police should assist in that. So maybe we should lobby for that in the future. The other thing is there any plans to increase the police budget for the upcoming year? I was curious about that. And I was reading somewhere, you know, they have in certain parts of, I think it's in England, I'm not sure where it is, but they have these new technology now where they have, the vehicles have face recognition inside the vehicles, and the vehicle becomes the actual command center. I'm sure it's expensive, but, you know, maybe there's a, you know, basically if you drive past somebody and somebody's wanted, it tells you right then and there, and every patrol car on the street, on the patrol, will get an instant update of who that individual is, and it's pretty crazy technology. So maybe something in the future without infringing on our rights, but something to think about. Also, I was thinking about Herbert Hoover, the traffic down Jackson Avenue, and I was thinking about this the other day, and maybe it's been brought up before, but have we ever thought about really not making a left or right onto Jackson Avenue that leads up to Hoover, and just using Coolidge and going down Coolidge as a one-way, and all the traffic flowing down Coolidge turn into Hoover, and then everybody comes out of Jackson Avenue one way, just one streamline of traffic instead of just expanding roads and going onto people's properties, and which ain't gonna really make an ounce of a difference. But so something to think about maybe is you go down maybe Coolidge, have all the traffic down there just for 15, 20 minutes out of the day, out of the morning, and maybe at night, and then just have everybody come back up Jackson Ave instead of, in one direction. So just a thought. Thank you, Council President.
Okay, all right. Captain Revel, can I get you to help out with the question about the state police on state roads assisting?
Takes a minute. Anthony, just to be completely, I'm not sure of the constraints that are put on the state police budget or what they're doing. I know they're going through a big hiring blitz right now to try to get more troopers, the same as we're trying to get more officers here. And I think that across the state, they're having similar issues with retaining qualified officers to complete the task. Although in Edison, we do have many roads that are patrolled by state police. Route 27 and Route 1 are patrolled by them. They're not the first in line to handle car accidents, but they will, in any situations of emergency, come into town and assist us.
Okay, and while I have you there, Captain, and I know this would be a traffic question for the traffic department, but to Anthony's questions about the Jackson Avenue around Herbert Hoover and diverting to Coolidge, any thoughts about that?
So again, that's a great idea to take into consideration. I think a traffic study would probably have to be done, and they would have to look into if that's something that would be, doable.
Okay, thank you, Captain. And in terms of his question about the plans for increasing the police budget, anything to say about that?
It's under review right now.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, thank you. Tom?
Thomas Leckie, Netherwood Circle. Back in January, I was here asking about information who I could talk to about our cable company. Councilmember Coyle, you were supposed to give me a name. The next council meeting was postponed or canceled due to lack of quorum, conflicts here and there. Okay. It's still, I took the matters into my own hands. After I got the original franchise fee added to my account, then come January, they added other fee, or they upped their fees, which was the flyers that they had sent around and put on people's doors and was posted around the town where they were going to maintain quads for 3 years. Yes, they were, but there's a little like ... fees can go up. So I found an internet provider. I'm streaming. I'm cutting the Xfinity cord. So that's behind me. I don't need that information right now, Mr. Coyle. I still got 4 more minutes. Excellent. Okay. Oh no. Okay. After the last, the last council meeting, I saw in a newspaper an article about I want to call it the Edison Training Center over at the Jets facility that's being constructed as we're here. The cost have more than doubled from the original budget. Now, that to me is criminal. I would really hope that after this is done, qualified representatives of the engineering firm, the construction management firm, as well as the contractors sit down and do a postmortem of lessons learned, why the cost more than doubled. From the newspaper article, it sounded like the big change order was due to utilities. If the engineering company that originally did the engineering and design work can't get the base utilities down, they should be put on a probationary period, as well as the contractor. So I really think that there needs to be a postmortem done on this project, because we can't continue, Edison can't continue spending money the way it is. We need to be responsible in where we spend the money. There's a lot of shakeups going on in Washington, which is going to filter down to the state and eventually down to the township. We need to be smart. We can't go spending money like it's free and people can do whatever they want. The budget's, I guess, being developed now, or is going to be, or in the process. But I hope to God that the people that are putting the budget together put together a smart budget, which is because I believe that our taxes are going to go up as a result of that. And lastly, I want to talk about Minnie B. Veal. I don't know who you hired to paint the lines, put the logo in the center of the gym floor, but it's all peeling up. It's disgusting. We need to hold our contractors' feet to the fire. If they don't do a competent job, they need to go and they need to be held to their duties. Make sure that what they do is right and it lasts, and it's done cheaply, within budget, on time, and on schedule. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Can we look into what's going on at Minnie B. Veal with that? Thank you. Okay.
Council President?
Yes.
Just for anybody to know, we have a cable committee. I don't know if they have the contact, like for Comcast. So I spoke to, I think it was the president of Comcast, to ask him how he got here in his journey. And then what they told me was that once Verizon dropped out and they weren't committed and our contract opened up, they applied to the state for approval. And then they had to come to the council to get them approved to come here. So he left me his contact number. If I could forward that to who's ever looking into the cable, and then maybe they can get a liaison to Comcast also. Is that, who's on that committee?
Who's on the cable committee? I don't have that at hand. Someone's on that committee. Someone's on that committee.
Oh, we
used
just had
to
a
be,
new
but I
committee.
don't know
Oh,
this
right,
year.
right. I don't have the committees handy. Do you happen to have that information?
Council President, if you can just get it to me, and then I'll contact that
Okay.
council person. I'll
Sure.
get that information
Sure.
over.
Okay.
Because, right, I just got the committee list. I'm actually not sure exactly what committees you put me on right now.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yes, Mikey?
How you doing? Good evening, council. I have no problem when you calling me up. My name's Mikey. I haven't come to this meeting yet, and I haven't given my real name because I don't feel like the council has put themselves into a position where I'm comfortable giving that courtesy. I don't mind in the future that you call me up as Mikey. We all know that's my name. But for the record, I'm not giving my name. And just a couple of things. I already spoke to Councilman Coyle out in the hallway. I told you the last 2 times you interrupted me while I'm speaking. He assured me he's never going to do it again. So we have that under control. Also, when I'm speaking, I don't want anyone speaking amongst each other, just to show me that respect. I sit here and I don't speak. So I just want none of you to be speaking amongst each other while I'm speaking. Just show me that respect. Do whatever you want when the other speakers are speaking. That's up to them to call you out for it. But I don't want you to at least speak when I'm speaking. I just want your full divided attention, and I appreciate that. Spoke to the captain before the meeting, very nice guy. Told him about Simmons versus United States, constitutional Supreme Court law that the ruling was it's intolerable to surrender one constitutional right to assert another one. That's a Fourth Amendment violation. I've brought this up at meeting after meeting. Last meeting I was here, Lieutenant Kenny, I spoke to him about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, I know that law," which I don't see how he could because I just found out about it. Even lawyers, they have to, find case law that applies to whatever case is pertaining to, But to acknowledge a Supreme Court law and then just willfully just overlook it is a little ridiculous. Both times that Councilman Coyle cut me off, I was referring to the flag ban or the prop ban. I referred to it as the flag ban.
It was not a flag ban.
Stop! Don't cut me off!
Councilman Coyle.
Don't cut me off!
Councilman Coyle.
I have the right.
This is what I'm talking about.
Councilman Coyle.
Order! Councilman Coyle, you are out of order!
Point of order.
You're out of
Councilman Coyle,
order.
you're out of order.
Stop the
not act
clock.
like that.
This is what I'm
Yes.
talking about. The third time.
This is
Councilman
where he,
Coyle, I'm sorry.
you need to restore order.
Councilman
He
Coyle, you're
is
out of order.
Have respect,
And
I can
Councilman
correct
Coyle.
him if I choose
stop,
to
I'm
correct
gonna
him.
have to ask
He's
you to
making
leave.
false
Councilman
statements.
Coyle.
It was not a
Like a
prop.
child.
It was
I'm
not a
gonna have to
ban
ask-
on the flag.
Councilman Coyle, I'm going to have to
I'll
ask you
do
to
it
leave.
every time,
I'm going to
Council
have to
President.
ask you to leave.
You can't ask me to leave. I'm an elected official.
Councilman Coyle can start his time again. I'm sorry, Mikey.
This is what I'm talking about. I would love to give you the courtesy and come here and tell you what my name is, but this council doesn't deserve that courtesy. You all, as a governing body, have to take the hit for the 4 people that voted for the flag ban. And you know what it was? You were banning the rights of Christo. Then you tried to ban his friends. And then before you knew it, everyone in the nation realized you were banning them. You guys remember how this happened, right? Everybody's rights were at risk because you banned one person, banned his friends. I came here in April for the first time during the profanity ban. I warned you guys. I warned you guys about the road you'd be going down. Every single person did nothing when that man was removed, when Joel was removed for waving the flag. No one did a thing. You got Mike Burns all over national TV yelling with the cops, ripping him out. Nobody did a damn thing because you banned the flag. That's why nobody did anything. You banned the flag. Am I going to be interrupted for the 4th time? I mean, Jesus. I want nothing more than to come here and tell you my name. But you guys don't even play by the rules. It's very, very disappointing.
You can't wait for your time to be over.
And if we're going to do questions at the end of my speech, I'd like to know why Councilman Coyle can't own the fact that a national mistake was made. Yes, you guys will be remembered for the flag ban, and especially the 4 that voted for it, Councilman Coyle included.
Thank you. All right, anyone else?
Council President?
Councilman Brescher?
Yes, I'd like to get an update, and let me tell you where I'm going with this. We didn't really have a problem here before this administration, this law firm, and this mayor. Okay, this is new. That's just happened over the last 3 years. A few meetings ago, I put a request in, and I'll tell you where I go with it. I've done construction for 30-something years. A lot of ADA, banks, hospitals, a few residents here and there. That wouldn't make me qualified to build a tunnel under the Hudson River, even though I have a lot of construction background. Attorneys are the same. You wouldn't want to hire an attorney that does closings and have them represent you in a murder case. And where I'm going is we have a legal firm, and I've requested to have a professional, like a constitutional attorney, so that this council, anybody has questions, they could speak to that attorney and get advice with it. I haven't been provided one yet. I don't know if the things that they're saying are 100% right. I've done a lot of reading myself, and a lot of it is interpretation. But I think actually having a constitutional lawyer to be here to explain what rights are to people that they see that have passed muster at the Supreme Court level, not just written up haphazardly, that would create the flag ban thing, would be a good thing. We've paid our attorneys quite a sum of money to come up with these ordinances. And just where I'm going with it is I'd like to see a constitutional attorney, and I don't know why we can't get one. Council President, can you follow up, with our firm to find out where we are with that?
We'll do so.
Thank you.
Councilman Coyle, did you want to say something?
Council President, I just want to clarify the statements that the speaker made are false. Yes, we had a situation with a flag. The ordinance that this council voted on was an ordinance on props. If the speaker can ever find the ordinance and look at it and bring to my attention or anybody here or highlight where it says that this council banned a flag, I'd love to see it. So he's making false statements, and he's here to just put flame on an old topic, and he's being an agitator, which is wrong for this council, and you should restore the public when this happens. It's continuous. It's going to eventually incite violence, and this place will be packed with people. We went over this before. He's well aware of it. He asked me not to interrupt him. I will interrupt him every time he makes a false statement about this flag issue. It was an ordinance about a prop. He knows it, and I know he can do better. The fact is, they come here to continuously put flame on an old story and eventually just agitate the public, and eventually that'll incite violence. For those who are listening, for someone who doesn't even give his name, okay, he wants me to respect him, and I can't talk to my colleague about something I may. As we choose, we will talk to each other when we want to. At the same time, he won't give this respect to give us his name. Right? This is a back and forth opportunity to work with the public on issues that are meaningful. That issue at that time, we admit, it was wrong in that issue. But the fact of the matter is, this council knows, the public knows, he knows, the ordinance that was voted on in this town, in this council, was a prop ordinance. It was not to ban a flag. Thank you, Council President.
All right, Councilman Coyle, I would like to remind you that your comments made at this particular time are fine. It's fine.
I'll wait till the end.
But interrupting a speaker in the middle of their time is not fine. And so I'm going to ask you to, when you have comments, to speak at the end of the speaker's time and not interrupting. That is not cool. Thank you.
Just protect agitators and protect people who incite violence. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Russ?
Somebody else?
I called on you.
Okay. Good evening, Council President, Council members. I do have a list, but...
Name and address.
Russ Azzarello, Schuyler Drive, Edison, New Jersey. To be diplomatic, there was a vote on the flag banning and the United States Constitution that we were not supposed to hold it up at the podium while we were at the podium for our public speaking time, which was 6 minutes at the time. Now it's 4. If it wasn't a ban, why was our friend and Edison resident, Joel Bassoff, removed while he was holding a flag? Why was I at the podium holding flags, a handful of flags, and I was warned, by the last council president that if I continued to hold the flags, that I would risk forfeiting my time speaking. And if I continue, then I would risk being removed from the council meeting. The only thing that saved me was I ran out of time. So, it's nothing personal about anybody that's sitting up there. It's professional and business that we have a problem with. We're not allowed, and because of decorum, we're not supposed to interrupt people or interrupt the speaker or yourselves. Well, it goes both ways. Respect goes both ways. regardless of whether you know somebody's first name, last name, their address, it's irrelevant. What matters is the point that's being made. It's the questioning that's being made. We're supposed to. That's our right to have dialogue, to question. That's our right, and we deserve answers, and we deserve respect as well. It's nothing personal about anyone, but be professional and be respectful. Pertaining to public safety, Councilman Brescia brought up about a Nixle in a prior meeting about a Nixle alert. I believe there should be a Nixle alert pertaining to a break-in, a major traffic accident. You know, this way, with a traffic accident, motorists could avoid going in that direction and avoid, you know, the traffic and making it even worse than what it is. Also, if there's a break-in, you know, let the residents know in that area so they could have a heads up. They could be aware. Many times if I see a police car, you know, or several going by, if I can, I'll ask, you know, hey, what's wrong? You know, can I help? Can I look out? Do you need me to look out for something? Not for nothing, but I'm an advocate and a neighborhood watch, regardless of whether you want me or not. I live in Edison. I work in Edison. My eyes and ears are open. If I see something, I say something. If I see an accident, I call 911 and I assist and I help. If I see a problem or somebody that he looks suspicious, doesn't look like he belongs in that area. I mean, I'm living here 40 years. I know pretty much who should be in that neighborhood or not. You know, I'll stop and say, hey, are you okay? Do you have a flat? You know, you need a car assistance? Can I help you? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, yeah, you know, we just stopped, you know, we do have car problems, or we stopped to use the phone, or, you know, but that one time, if I could deter, or if we could deter one problem, that's one who knows what we're saving. We could be saving a break-in, an assault, or a murder, you know. Let's get back to 4 to 6 minutes. There's overcrowding, traffic. There was just an accident at my location, place of work. Somebody went through my, let's do a traffic study, and Edison Township needs to go with Middlesex County.
Thank you, Russ. Yeah, your 4 minutes are up. Sorry. Okay.
How about last time? I didn't make it to the meeting last
Okay,
time.
thanks. Yes, in the back. Mhm.
Hi, my name is Anil Joshi. I'm new resident of Edison. I was living in Long Island. I heard nice things about Edison, very same neighborhood. I moved there. For first year was fine. Suddenly, I see lot of videos in my neighborhood, Ring and other security camera, lot of breakings going on. And what gentleman said, that's true. When you ask police, nothing. But it's in my street, I want to know what's going on. They wouldn't say anything. But after that, they will go around and look for the video camera. In my neighborhood, there are 3 breaking in 2 weeks. 2 weeks back, on next to my street, not my street, next to my street was breaking. I saw the police, nothing going, and nothing being done. If I knew this is going on, I wouldn't have moved in. Where I was living in Long Island was a safe area. I moved in because of the safety, but I don't feel safe in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, yes, sir.
Harry Kalakovic, Ginger Drive, Edison. As there were gentlemen before me mentioned, lately there's been a lot of break-ins in our neighborhood. I live in Edison for 37 years. I have 2 children that grew up, went to Edison High. You know, beautiful, beautiful town to live in back then. Lately, it's becoming very scary. We never see a police in our streets, hardly ever. If you read about it, they always hire new police officers. I don't know where they are. I mean, I understand that, the people, they do retire and new ones coming in and everything, but when you have this kind of break-ins, you should put a little more, extra police force. I'd like to ask the captain, Clara Barton and Banhamtown, how many patrols you guys have at night?
Sir, you would ask through.
Sorry.
Ask through
Sorry,
me. No, it's
Counsel.
okay. You would ask
Sorry,
through
Counsel.
me. That's all right.
Yes, sorry, Counsel.
Okay.
And this is something like, there's so many break-ins. This is coming on Heman. There was a 10 o'clock a.m. break-ins, okay? Philo Boulevard. Thank God everybody's okay, as everybody read about it. No resident, they don't, like they were saying before, why they don't let us know? We always get a text like when is an accident, when is like anything that's going on in Edison, but not for this kind of problems. They never send us anything. Like people don't want to know. I think they deserve to know. But I guess they're scared because, of course, people are not going to want to move to Edison. But it's fair to let people know what's going on. And right now, I live in Woodlands in Edison. Most like you people know where it is. And it was a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. Now, starting with the CNA Global issues, the traffic, the accidents, 6 o'clock, you can't even go on Morris Avenue anymore. It's so congested, and it's all this robberies and attempted robberies and everything. Please, all we asking is for a little extra police force, to patrol our area. So, we feel safe. I mean, I live on, it's cul-de-sac on Ginger Drive. I hardly ever see a police officer. Springtime and the summertime, I'm always outside working. I never see a patrol in our area. I mean, thank God. We even had an incident 4 years ago. My wife saved my neighbor from being robbed 11:30 in the morning. Okay? They want to come and deliver furniture with the Toyota Camry. There's 3 people around it. And that's it. I mean, thank God they didn't get robbed. But what I'm saying is, like, in a crime area like that, you should really have a little more extra patrol. That's what I'm asking. Thank you, President.
Thank you, sir. Captain Revel, can you address this issue of the break-ins and police presence?
So specifically speaking, sir, the manpower that's on the road, I can't divulge that to you, but currently during this current period, considering your request for service in your neighborhood in the Bottomtown area, we are using intelligence-led policing to review statistics and crime trends to deploy more resources to your neighborhood. So you will be seeing them, I'm sure, very soon, if not already, and there will be an increase in that neighborhood. What was the other question, Council President?
About the break-ins, just in general.
The break-ins are cyclical. That same night that you're speaking of the Philo Boulevard incident where there was a break-in, there was also one in Metuchen and Woodbridge. In the Edison incident, no proceeds were taken, and unfortunately, that's one of the worst crimes that can happen to you other than a violent crime is having your house invaded. And unfortunately, we're applying a lot of resources to it, but it's a crime that is transient, meaning that we never know when the next one's gonna happen and where, but we're deploying resources in areas that we believe we're going to have the greatest outcome to have a positive result and make an arrest. Our detective bureau and our burglary unit, I think that our burglary unit is one of the top burglary units in the state. We work with other agencies throughout the state and the county to try to mitigate all of this. Of course, Edison is a large town with a lot of residents, and it's a full-time job to do it. Right now, we have more resources deployed. We've redeployed officers that were in the building out back onto the street to try to suppress more crime, but we're doing it in a way that we don't put all of our resources in one area and then have another area then that the burglaries happen. But it's a coordinated effort, and it's a question probably that would take me an hour to explain, and not that you don't have that time, but this might not be the appropriate forum for it, sir.
Thank you, Captain.
Council
Anyone
President.
else from the public?
Council President?
Yes, Councilman Brescher.
Yeah, there's 2 things. Right, the Nixle alert is something that I've been asking for quite some time. I said when my neighbor's property was broken into, I only found out like after everybody came to the scene and they were doing an investigation. If when the 911 call was placed, if a Nixle alert went out to whatever a half-mile radius around there, just saying, just like they do with a child, potential burglary. I'm sitting in my home, it would have went off. I could have looked out the window. I might have seen a car, got a license plate. It just helps, it helps solve the crime. And when you actually catch a couple of them, they go to an easier target, another town. But I'd like to see our department, and I want to go on the record for this one, and maybe the department can give me a breakdown on this. There's a town, I believe it's East Orange, not West Orange, I think it's East Orange. They implemented some kind of technology kind of driven thing that ties cameras and crime things, and it greatly reduced the crime in East Orange over there, and I believe that was it. I brought this up actually in the past administration, and I'm not sure what the chief thought of it, or I don't even know that they looked at it, but it was kind of remarkable because I spoke to a mayor over there and to the residents. I have people from Edison that moved there. So I'd like to see if somebody can look into that and then maybe, get back to me on that and tell me, is it worth the investment, or, is this just making people feel good? I don't want the residents to feel good. I want the residents to be good at the end of the day, But that would be my request. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Can I get a motion to close public portion?
Motion to close the public portion.
Second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Reports from council committees. Let me start with Councilman Brescher.
None at this time.
None? Okay. Councilman Coyle?
I just had a brief discussion with DPW about salt and winter preparation from the end of the season, and that's all I had, Council President. Thank you.
I'll
skip to Councilman Patel.
Had open space last Thursday. Question for trust fund. I see that the open space trust fund had 2.5 million last year. We're going to go down to 667,000. 2 million of that's going to Angels Field. What are we using that 2 million to do in the Angels Field? The whole thing will be under open space. Okay. And we also discussed the Edison bicycle initiative. The JCP&L is they'll be replacing towers along the corridors, and we're hoping that after that the trail will be started for the bike path. The bike racks, just getting an update.
So we are installing quite a few bike racks. You'd referenced the skate park. There is a permanent one there now.
Okay.
Was there another one that you wanted
At this building.
This building? Yes. Yeah, that's included in the order.
Okay, perfect. Then we also discussed Stephenville Island path. I think that's a great path that connects the housing complex all the way to Grove Ave, and it's very safe. It's between the two trees, the little island, and I think open space would really love it if we can get a bike path, because the sidewalks on the sides are from the 1960s, where they're very narrow and people can't really walk side to side. So there are sidewalks, but unfortunately there's not usable sidewalks, and they have a perfect island in the middle. We're hoping that, and they have trees, so it'll be shaded, and we're hoping that we can convert that into a semi-bike path that people can use to ride safely between, and that will connect kids to the library too, because the library is at the end of Stephenville Parkway. So that is something that we're looking to pursue. I would like to get a meeting with you, Sonia, or Brian, when you get a chance on that. We also discussed the Redden River area, Barnes Preserve, and the Oak Tree Road and the Fairmont parcel. We are still working through as to what we can do. We played around. We had some brainstorming ideas, but not much came of it. But we are going to go make a trip to the area, and we're going to hopefully talk to the neighbors to see what they would like in that area, and move forward with that. That'll be it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Patel. Councilman Patil?
None at this time.
Okay, Councilman Shmuel?
Not at this time.
All right, Councilman Pointer? Council Vice President, sorry.
That's all right. Thank you, Council President. Just for reference, the Human Relations Commission will be meeting tomorrow, 7 o'clock here in council chambers. They will be celebrating Women's History Month, and they'll have a couple of guest speakers. including County Clerk Nancy Picking, County Commissioner Shanti Nara, Board of Ed members Virginia White and Shannon Pang, and entrepreneur Marla Fisher. And again, that's 7 o'clock here in council chambers. And last, on February 25th, the Finance Committee had its initial meeting to start going over some of the budget items. It primarily discussed the revenues and expenses from last year, and we'll be having a follow-up meeting shortly. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. And for myself, Animal Shelter Report, February report. There were 12 dog adoptions, 17 cat adoptions. Currently in-house, there are 11 dogs and 18 cats. There are several upcoming fundraising events, including the Texas Roadhouse Dine-In, Chick-fil-A Dine-In, and St. Patrick's Day Parade at Edison Pizza, and I'll get you some details on that. I'll put some details out there for Wednesday's meeting. There's a large event in the works, which is the first annual Tricky Tray. That would be July 19th in the Elks Lodge in South Plainfield. Although the Cultural Arts Commission is not meeting until tomorrow, we did have a meeting with the mayor today to discuss the status of things on smaller projects and on larger projects. And we are looking to get some murals painted around town. We're looking at getting utility boxes painted around town, the PSE&G boxes that we should be green lighted for. We are going to look at the jazz. So Edison is not going to be teaming with the county for the jazz, but Edison is going to do their own thing, possibly sometime in late August or early September. Details on that will be forthcoming, but there will be a jazz festival. Also talked about some of the larger projects that are probably not going to happen until sometime later in the fall, which would be the big project of the Performing Arts Center. But we will be meeting tomorrow, and that's the end of my reports. We move to points of light. Anyone have points of light?
Council President,
Sure.
As was mentioned, just with the Human Relations Commission's event tomorrow, is Women's History Month, so just wanted to point that out. And it is also National Reading Month with Read Across America and such, so just wanted to call those out. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. There's also, a couple of announcements here. There will be on March 15th is the St. Patrick's Day Block Party at the Old Stewart's Lot. It goes from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday, April 7th, very important, Team Edison is going to be hosting their annual event, the Police Unity Tour at the Brownstone from 5 to 9 p.m. We want to support our men and women in blue. I believe there are 18 from the police department who will be taking part in the Unity Tour. Let's see, I got that. Right. And the Unity Tour, by the way, starts on May 9th. No, I'm sorry, May 10th. The important scheduling change, the April meeting schedule, it's not going to be April 7th. There's going to be a combined meeting on April 16th. Monday, April 28th, work session, and Wednesday, April 30th, regular meetings. The changes will be both advertised and posted on the website. All right, discussion items. Let me go from the other direction. I'll save the best for last, Councilman Brescher. Let's start with Councilman Patil.
I'll be quick. I hope, we can have the closed session, not today, maybe by Wednesday.
I'm sorry, say again?
Is the closed session for the SAGE as well as Glendale to get the update where we stand? I think the last council meeting, we mentioned that there will be closed session. So I'm assuming it's not today.
Okay.
Is that on Wednesday or it is following council meeting?
Okay. All
Just
right.
I need to know that.
All right, closed session.
The next one is on the flooding remediation update. Any update from the administration on Stephenville Parkway, Calvert, Summer Street, JP Stevens, Winding Brook, any of those area? Anything moved, planned? Okay, when I can expect, because this is on agenda, this was on agenda last month as well. And I know, Councilman Deal knows that this is 10-year, we're continue to follow, but if you can provide some updates by, at least by next council meeting will be helpful. We can't keep having this on agenda. Rider Lane, DPW area beautification. We spoke last time, I think several times. I know the chain fence was installed, the trees were supposed to be planted. Do we know the schedule?
Councilman Patil, I believe I provided that information to you, but I'll recirculate it.
I need the schedule. I was told that it will be done, but I don't know the date.
Again, I'll provide that to you.
Clara Barton Amber Avenue. Last time we discussed, I was supposed to be given the information how much money PSEG or utility companies providing to us and in what account.
I believe there was approximately $350,000 that was provided from the utility, and that'll go back into it'll offset the capital, correct?
So this will
So
be
it'll reduce our debt.
Okay, so this will go in $350,000 we'll receive from the utility company to pave the entire Amber Avenue and all the inner roads?
No, that offsets, that is their portion of the utility, what they would owe the township. So that will offset our debt. We did receive the funds already.
No, the question is, are they paying enough is the question, is $350,000.
I could refer to our legal counsel. They paid what they were required to do.
Okay, I need the estimation, Council President. I think this is not going anywhere. This is the third time I'm talking. Now I know the dollar amount, $350,000. I did ask the list of all the roads there. They were ripped in the Clara Barton section. Some of them were quite new. And we have the ordinance that anyone, whether it's utility company, whether it's a water or PSEG or the gas company, they need to restore to the original condition. And I don't believe 350,000 is sufficient amount. So I would like to know the details from engineering. I would like to know the details from what portion we are talking about. It's not half road or something like that, but I need to know the number of roads, the linear mileage, what is covered and what's going to cost, what will be covered in $350,000. I would consider this as a pure blunder if you're taking just $350,000 and not complying to our ordinance. I believe, it's not there, but on resident complaint, I did ask the traffic, no, it's there. Calvert and Grove Avenue traffic study, I was told it's almost now second month I'm following. I was told the report is there, the engineering is reviewing, engineering has provided a comment. I was supposed to get last council meeting, now it's after a month. I'm asking the report, do we have the report ready?
The report is being reviewed by the administration. Will provide a recommendation as well with legal.
Any ETA?
I'm sorry?
Any ETA when it can be provided?
I can discuss that prior to the next meeting if that makes it to this agenda.
Okay, so we don't have any definite answer that when we'll get the report. That's what you're saying?
You'll get that soon. I just, again, need to review it with the entire group.
Okay, so again, this is 6 months plus, I'm asking the report. I was told that we got the bid. I was told that, the traffic study was done. I was told the engineering is reviewed. They provided a comment. Then I was told by chief, they have provided their input. Now here we go. Now administration has to review. This is the same report all the departments should have received, and they should have provided their comments on that. So if you tell me that by next council meeting you will have it, Councilman, I'm okay with that. But you cannot say soon. Soon means nothing to me. I'm just asking the question.
Okay.
Is there any answer?
I believe I just provided that to you.
Again, I need a definitive answer. Again, Council President, this is what I call as a disrespect to the council member.
You are asking Councilman Patil when you can expect
Absolutely.
that, yes.
And this is the third month I'm asking when the report will be available.
Right, and you had mentioned something, Sonia, about something about before the next meeting, which is Wednesday. I don't know if that's what you were referring to.
Oh, I was referring to the next council meeting, so in a couple weeks.
Okay, so by next council meeting, I will have the report. Okay, that's what I'm asking, by next council meeting. Yeah, thank you. That's it. Thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you very much. Where are we? Councilman Patel?
Just for me, the safe route to school, there was a letter that was asked to be signed by the administration. What do we need to do to get that done?
So our office has communicated with the gentleman that you referred us to. He should provide us with a draft letter. We don't have a letter. So
He did provide one in the email. It was attached to it in there.
I didn't get that.
I'll forward to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll have that ready. The mayor will sign it. And it's just a letter. There's no resolution required.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Coyle? Oh, not here. Councilman Brescher? Back to you.
To the attorney, I've been having difficulty, and understand, I'm going to try and take it easy on you on this one. The last time that you and me had a conversation had no bearing on your personal work, but it had to do with the firm. I'm back to the same type of scenario here today. So I'm going to hope that you can relay this message and correct it for me. There's 3 items. The fire alarm. At the last council meeting on Monday, I asked our counselor if he could get me an update on the fire alarm system. And what I mean by that was our chief explained to me that they should be done maybe sometime in April. But I asked how many people we had that were working on the system, how many days they've been working on it, just so that I can see that it's actually being done, so I can verify this. I then was expecting to have it by that Tuesday before Wednesday's council meeting, and I didn't get it on Wednesday. So then I called your firm on Thursday, and I spoke to one of the partners, and what he told me was he would get me this information. And then on Tuesday, he confirmed with me that he was going to get this information. And here I am on Monday, and of course, I didn't get that information. Now, that was one item. The other item was, the ADA, the ramp outside. This one we've been talking about since, I don't know, December or so. We were told that the committee, we have a committee here and they do that. I was on that committee and I kind of know that ramp's not really compliant, but I was told that we'd have a letter from the engineer saying that the ramp is compliant. And I requested this on Monday, expecting to get it on Tuesday. Called the partner at the firm on Thursday, of which he said, I think that ramp could be like grandfathered. But I do know that, with ADA compliance, that ramp was never ADA compliance from what I could see, because this is what I did for a living. And I informed him that this is what I did, so I don't understand how, it could be. But then again, we confirmed it on Tuesday, and here I am on Monday. I still don't have anything on that. Then there was an item where we were going to hire a plumbing contractor, I believe it was, I think it was $400,000, might have been $200,000, to do plumbing work throughout the town. And I requested at the meeting to get a list of all the bills for the plumbing contractor that we could have done over the last year. And what happened was the very next meeting, it was taken off of the agenda because I believe the administration realized that they had a 2-year contract with this vendor, so they didn't have to renew it. But it doesn't stop that my request for all the bills that we spent or projects, because we have employees in the township that do plumbing. So I was wondering what sort of large plumbing jobs. They're not our pump stations, because for there we hire an outside vendor. And again, it was the same process, where I asked on Monday, expecting on Wednesday, called on Thursday, did it on Tuesday. So these 3 items are together. So if you can get to the bottom of that one for me, or maybe have somebody tell me why, and I'll tell you why I'm not, and I'm good. But at the next meeting, if I don't get it, I don't mean Wednesday's meeting, but at the following meeting, I'm going to probably lose it because I've been asking for this information over and over and over again. And maybe at that meeting, you could have one of those partners that told me I was going to get it come, so that my questions are directed to the right person. Question to the BA. I brought up about, we were talking about park improvements for Edison Woods Park, and some of the residents were complaining, I brought this up, I think, a meeting ago or so, that it was too intense for what was planned for that neighborhood. And you were going to check with the administration to see if that could be scaled back. And I know that my ex-councilman Bob Deal does the parks. So are we scaling that back, or?
I didn't know if you
I
were
was going
done.
to say, are we
Go ahead.
scaling it back, or are we just moving forward with the current plan?
So we're just revamping, updating all of the park, the infrastructure, whether the playground. So there's nothing that we're doing that would be out of the ordinary to any of the parks. I know there were some concerns because it's seemingly I guess you want to call it a neighborhood park. However, we're really trying to improve the quality of life for that neighborhood. So we felt that those improvements were important. So I don't know, we're not scaling back anything in terms of what we've already planned, and certainly I can provide that to you at length.
Well, no, the question was, the residents came to me and they told me that it looked like it was too intense for the area. So what I was asking for was that we don't do the Jackson Avenue debacle, right? Where we're going to do what or the administration is going to do what the administration wants to do, but nobody speaks to anybody on Jackson Avenue. So what my request was that the administration reach out to what the neighborhood is looking for. Their fear was that what you had planned for their park was going to bring people from the outside, so it wouldn't be a neighborhood park, it would be a destination park.
I don't believe we feel that way, and DPW recommended those changes, those upgrades. So I think that they're prudent changes to the park, and we hope to enhance again the neighborhood. We don't see any concerns with any outside people in the park. We haven't had any concerns really in any other park about outside issues. So we certainly will watch that to make sure that that remains that way.
No, my question is, are you going to reach out to the neighbor? Should I just tell the neighborhood you're going to move ahead forward with whatever you had planned, and you actually don't care that they complain to me and ask me to look at it? It doesn't matter to me either way. I just want to know what to tell them. You know what I mean? Are you moving
I
forward?
would encourage them to reach out to the administration. That's what I would encourage them to do. And we can certainly sit down with those residents and discuss the plans.
Okay, thank you. Bird flu. Some residents had some concerns about the bird flu because we had some dead birds. Were the birds tested?
So one of the, I guess if you call it, one of the state requirements that if there was less than 20 birds, or in this case, geese, testing was not required. However, there was then an update that there was in a sort of, I guess, I don't want to we use the word assumption, but there would be a certain area that it would maybe presumed to be. To my knowledge, we have not tested. There were certain instances that it didn't look like the issue was necessarily the bird flu. Rather, there may be issues that we couldn't remove it because they were frozen in the lake, so we couldn't remove them as fast as we could. But as far as that, we report everything to either the county or the state, but we haven't, there was no testing to my knowledge at this moment, but I can certainly follow up.
Okay, so the county's aware that we had some dead birds all around the
Yes, in the state as well.
pond, right?
Yes.
Okay,
There was 10 or between 10 and 12.
okay. Roads. My council colleague did bring something up. So, right, I mean, I go down to Clara Barton to eat. And I noticed that it's their roads down there in Clara Barton. I did notice roads up on the south side, and I did notice the roads in front of my own home, which is on Grove Avenue and Mount Pleasant, which I travel down. And these roads are all new roads. And when I say new, a couple years. And they've been torn up, right? Opened up for, I don't know what, could have been cable, right? Not really sure what. But I do know that they've been patched and they're not fully paved like our ordinance says. In fact, I will guarantee you that within 3 years, they're all going to pop up, and I'm going to have potholes all over the town. So what are we going to do about all of these areas that they opened up the roads here in Edison? Are we going to make them confirm and conform to our laws that say when you open them up, you got to pave, entire length, especially when it was a newly paved road? I mean, that's always been a pet peeve of mine. The past administration, I complained because they'd pave a road, and then you see the water company open it up. And they assigned that to the engineering company here. And they did a remarkable job of, making sure that utilities were in first. But for some reason, that's not a high priority agenda.
Councilman Brusher, so with the winter and a lot of utilities having been, all of those infrastructure restoration, we have to wait until the weather is consistent above 50 in order to go back. But certainly I will check with our engineer to see what specifically happened over on Grove, you mentioned? Or the full length?
Grove, Mount Pleasant. So what it looks like there's like little trenches, right? They're about 5 inches by 5 foot, let's say. And they're sporadic through the entire town. But these are brand new paved roads. So as anybody knows, once you make that opening, you penetrate that road, it's going to leak, water gets underneath, it freezes, and we end up with potholes all over, right? So it's just like we didn't manage them. So the way I'm looking at it is those roads should be repaved, even if it's topped or something. And that's what I'm looking for the administration is tell me, yes, we're going to take care of these roads and we're going to make sure that they're repaved. Stelton. I know we allocated funds for Stelton School, Stelton Community Center, whatever we'd like to go by now. It seems like it's like the Tote Center. It doesn't seem like we're moving ahead with anything over there. When is the anticipation opening of the Stelton School?
So with regard to the Stelton School, right now we have an engineering firm that's out there doing a remediation study. They're putting together some sort of review of what exactly we need to do as far as environmental. So we need to do that before we go ahead and continue to do. We've done some exterior work. We've ordered windows. Those things are all in play. However, we want to make sure before we get into the inside of the building, that's done. I can certainly follow up with our engineering team to see what the next step is. But I am pretty aware that we've contracted with the firm to take a look at that.
Well, let me tell you, now that's a concern, because that's the first that I've heard about this. It was quite some time ago, and maybe somebody from the public can help find that video, where we allocated, I think it was $3 million in funds to refurbish the community center, which I thought was a great idea, right? I went out there, I looked at it, I met DPW director, the whole thing, right? Soup to nuts, going to be done, and it's going to open. And you're telling me now about an environmental study, so I don't know, what did you find inside?
It's not necessarily what did we find. I mean, it's a public building, so anytime there's an aging building, that's what we do as far as our due diligence. It's certainly something of concern, and we would do that. So we're following the process.
Right, but wouldn't you do that before you invest money into it?
The plan is to invest the money, and we need the money in order to do the remediation, for example. So I don't know how much the remediation may cost.
No, what I'm saying
We
is...
did a roofing. That was one of the things that we were able to do, at the very least.
Right, so you did roofing, I see you're doing windows, but if you're doing some kind of environmental study and it comes up that it's contaminated with lead or whatever else and the building should be torn down, then we just wasted the roofing money and the window money. Like we should have done that study at the beginning, right, before you start the project.
So we did do that to make sure that this was not a building that if we invest money into, that, again, to your point, it would be, a loss. But we did that knowingly full well that we would have to do certain remediation because it was closed for a very long time, as you know.
No, I do, and I know that there's asbestos in there, and I'm hoping that you're not going to come back to this body and tell me that the asbestos has to be removed.
Well, we may have to come to this body depending on how much the cost of the remediation is, just like any other building.
Well, let me ask you a question. Then when I met with DPW director, and he fully well knew that it had asbestos in it, the mayor knew it had asbestos in it, I knew it had asbestos in it, and anybody up here that knows anything knows it had asbestos in it, but they were going to do like an encapsulation of it. It was like flooring, they were going to go over the top. Now, so right now it looks like maybe there's more to it that we're not aware of. The only asbestos we knew about was on the floors. I asked if it was in the plaster and stuff, and I was told no. So that's why I have this, this concern here now, because the whole thing just stopped after we approved $3 million. Can you give me, I'll tell you what, could you just give me a breakdown of how much money we've spent on that project to date? And I'd like to see if I can get that before Wednesday.
Sure, I think if I could ask the clerk also, there were some resolutions that had been approved by this
Probably.
body. So if that could be supplied to you as well. And I'll certainly provide any other updates.
Okay, thank you. Plumbing bills, mailer, patching. Now, I have other questions here that I believe should be done in a closed session. I'm fully well prepared to do it here openly, like the Sage Architects, the Glendale, like things. So are we going to have a closed session at the next Wednesday meeting?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, then that's all I would have for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Coyle?
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to stick to just 3 things, and I'm going to try to stick to these 3 things for the next 6 months. First is a plan for affordable housing. If the administration could give me a quarterly plan or a 12-month plan of affordable housing, what our strategic plan is going to be to provide housing. I don't need an answer today. but
No,
I'm just-
Councilman Coyle, I'm actually referring to our attorney who had been working on that. If there's any sort of update, I think we're just right now going through some of the motions that are required for us to complete, for example, with the planning firm.
That is correct. So Edison has a long history of meeting its affordable housing obligations. We intend to continue to meet those obligations, and the process that this municipality is following will provide a plan. I want to say approximately in June, and it's being worked on to get an affordable housing planner in place to come up with that plan.
Okay. Well, if I can get a conversation offline, just of our deadlines and timelines to make sure we don't miss our point. What I want to make sure is that we're prepared to have something available rather than to have a builder come in and present something that we don't want. And again, when I look at the public and things we've done on Facebook and how we run to kill 6 or 4 homes being built, the real problem is the large builders who want to build 200 units and stick it in a place that you don't want it. And we should somehow come together collectively to find out where we want housing and have that opportunity come together. But let's see if they meet. But I would want to have that conversation and what the plan is. So June is a long way, but I can be patient. Next, since we talked about bamboo for 15 minutes, Council President, can I talk about opioids for 15 minutes?
You can talk as long as you want about it.
I mean, I just thought, for me, I just thought that conversation was mute to one point. I do respect my colleagues, and I know my colleagues for
Councilman Coyle, just move on with talking about opioids.
Council President, I don't need to be corrected. I have the floor. I have the right to speak, okay? I have the right to speak. I mean, it's, I'm just being genuine to believing that, hey, they have the right to talk about it. It's all great. I don't need any sarcasm added to it. I did vote for you. So rather than talk about bamboo, let's talk about something that's really important, which is the opioid crisis, and that we have $1.5 million to market that opioid crisis. I'm asking the administration for a plan, and I just want to, just remind some people how much it affects, not just the person, the families, the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, the workplace, but just, we can talk about, we had 3,000 deaths, 3,000 plus deaths in 2019, 3,000 plus deaths in 2020. We're coming down a little bit, 2,600 deaths in 2021, and 2022, 2,800 deaths plus in 22, and 2,700 plus in 23. This is for New Jersey state of deaths. Now, compared to motor vehicles, going from top to bottom, we had less than 600 to 700 motor vehicle accidents, death by auto in 5 years. I just want to do a small comparisons. Now, cancer, of course, is much, much, much deeper than that, but I think it's important. We have the money, and I hope that we can have a plan. I hope this council can participate. I hope this council can consider talking more about it. It's just important. It will affect everyone. It doesn't pick your financial commitment in life. It doesn't pick whether you're rich or poor. It doesn't educated or not. It picks anyone who decides to use opioids. And as we all know, fentanyl is here, and fentanyl, just one sniff and it's over. I am fortunate. I've worked with Chief Tom Bryan and his administration and command staff, and we do have a great service through EMS that will come out, and we Narcan, and Narcan is available for everybody to help out. We've had several Narcan turnovers, which I'm proud of, and I do get a report of that, and I'm thankful for that through Chief Tom Bryan and his command staff. But we have the money. If we don't do a plan, perhaps someone will build the plan for us. But the money's there. It's important. We campaign to use it. I think it's a great opportunity to use it, and I'm looking forward to seeing that plan. And I'm going to ask every meeting about that. Another issue I'm going to ask every meeting about is marketing and the need for an economic development person for the town. Again, as members of the public come here, and members that are not from the public and not from this town come here and talk about how we need change and what we need and not need, paying attention to a large retail box store disappearing in your town, and as the economy changes, where Stop and Shop was here, now gone, what is it going to be next? I'm not aware of that today. Sometimes that is a bigger league of brokers who discuss that, but we should be wooing some other opportunity into this town before it becomes something we don't want. Not having a grocery store in your town, in your little community, slowly it's just not a good sign. Really is. I mean, the days of having a hardware store and Amboy Ave has a butcher, not to brag about Amboy Avenue, but how we got lucky to get a butcher. We're very fortunate. But at one time, downtowns were thriving with pharmacies, hardware stores, cheese shops, different shoe stores. And now we're just becoming service. And what I hear from residents when they come here and complain, I think sometimes we also have to add the complaint of marketing, because marketing woos the opportunity of someone renting a space for a longer period, and it could be a specialty store. So again, I ask my colleagues to join me, and if we're not going to find an economic development coordinator, I ask that the administration provide a plan of marketing, simple marketing. We can have billboards come to Edison. We have been fortunate that Topgolf chose Edison. I can't begin to tell you how many mayors call me and say, Joe, can you get the contact of Topgolf? Will they come to our town? And guess what? They don't. They came here organically because Edison is the crossroads. It's a better location than Woodbridge. It's a better location than East Brunswick. And when you look around, we have the crossroads of a highway access, parkway access, turnpike, and 287. We're right at the cliche of a great location. That's why Menlo Park Mall was built. And that's why people moved here from New York to shop in our locations. But as the trend is changing, what is Menlo Park Mall? Is it indoor shopping? Is it going to be outdoor shopping? We should be prepared for the next steps that are happening, because we could make a huge difference in Edison. I'm proud to live here. When people come to this microphone and say how something is detrimental to the community, someone comes to the microphone and talks about 8 homes being built that are $1.5 million to the town, and that's detrimental. I am super confused at those statements. I'm just confused, because what's detrimental is an empty grocery store that will become something you don't want. That'll be a big change. Not having grocery store, not having specialty stores in your community, not having the feel of a real downtown and having service. Next is signage. The rate signage in your community, it's going downhill. Controlling signage, banners, and how a downtown looks. I could provide hundreds of photos of downtowns and how they've changed and just become a ghost town. And it can quickly happen. So thank you, Council President, for your time. I did keep it a lot less than 15 minutes.
You did.
And I thought it was much better than bamboo, and I'm just sorry. I do appreciate the bamboo story, but there's so many other topics that are important than bamboo. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President?
Thank you, Council President. In regards to ordinances for consideration, just an honest request for my council colleagues. I send out emails with drafts of ordinances that we see up on this body. And I ask for feedback ahead of time to avoid those half-hour conversations that we had earlier today. So my request is when I send something out and make an honest effort to get feedback, to please do that behind the scenes so that we do not waste people's half hour out here talking about the same thing I tried to get done 2 months ago. In regards to ordinances that I've drafted up for consideration, I got a response back from the administration today in regards to the LI light industrial transition zones that I'm trying to implement. There are some concerns, so I'm looking forward to that feedback from the administration and hopefully moving that forward. I sent over a draft for environmental resource inventory ordinance, which again would just provide additional information to the planning or zoning board on environmental items to any applications pertaining to that have certain criteria that are met. A request to Councilman Brescher and Councilman Patil. In November, there was concern about the rental unit ordinance, and I had provided a draft of potential changes to address some of your concerns. If I can get some feedback on those potential changes. Councilman Coyle, you mentioned about the updating our sign ordinance. I do have a draft of that. It's 60 pages, so I'll give you that way ahead of time to review, and same thing with the administration. That one would be a bit of a heavy read. And then finally, Councilman Brescher, about the road paving, one simple solution that I think we could do right now, we have a 5-year moratorium on paving that you have to go side to side or curb to curb. We may want to revisit. I saw some townships that have it as a 7-year moratorium, specifically in the Clara Barton section. If you go up 7th, the part closer to Amboy Avenue is fully paved, and then you get to the intersection of Hoover, and then it goes to only half. And that's because they had only done the paving up to Hoover and then didn't do that stretch. And that was a recommendation that I made to the administration about trying to coordinate a little bit better on that so that in these repaving items, we don't get that weird looking break that happens. That would be it, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to respond to Council Vice President comment on the bamboo ordinance. We can discuss in the email, but when the resident sent an email, I didn't see your response to that his specific ask about grandfathering of the bamboo ordinance. And I left to your judgment because you are the one who was sponsoring this legislation. I expected you could have outlined some sort of a pointer saying, hey, this is how the enforcement will happen. I'm asking question on behalf of the resident rather than, because I thought there will be email exchange back and forth, except, thank you to Sonia who said she acknowledged, but acknowledgement doesn't solve the problem. So someone should have visited really that location, should have understood what the problem is, and probably, you could have responded to residents saying, hey, this is what we are trying to do, this is what can happen, this is what cannot happen. Again, that's my ask to, whoever is sponsoring the bill, rather than me going and, answering somebody's question there. So that's a clarification that was needed. Thank you.
Can I just offer a clarification?
Of course.
I took that response as the administration was going to provide that feedback. So if I mistook on that, I apologize.
Yeah, but this ordinance is not administration. In the ordinance is, we are the one who propose the ordinance or changes. And I wouldn't expect, again, could be me based on what we are dealing last 3 years. I wouldn't expect any input on the ordinance, right, coming from from the administration or from the attorney. But again, we can talk this offline, and that was exactly the reason we had the back and forth on that. Because I'm trying to defend the resident, the taxpayer, who would be penalized because of some of the enforcement of this ordinance. Thank you, sir.
And Council President?
Yes.
Just real quick. About the housing, the ordinance for the housing. Initially, we met in the back room, right, and we talked about council being involved in negotiating that. I understand that the attorney is actually the one that's in there doing the negotiations. Can that be added to our closed session? Because it's been a couple months now, and we haven't had any sort of update or anything
About
on
the
that.
affordable housing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes.
Rental.
No, the rental, yeah, the rental, yes.
Uh-huh.
Right, well, affordable housing was another question, but I
But
understand they're
the
working
rentals,
on that. But yeah, it was a rental
The
unit.
inspection?
Yes.
Yeah.
Council President?
Yes.
I actually had a question for Councilman Brescher. You said something about the East Orange technology. I tried looking it up. I couldn't find it. The only thing I could really find was like a 2014 article about murder rates being decreased. But then I also found that in 2018, East Orange still had much higher crime rate than us. So if you don't mind, if you find that, I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll forward that over to you. And you happen to be on the cable committee?
Yes.
So I'm going to send you
We can
his
follow
number
that too, yes.
to get his contact. You know what I mean? So when residents have problems, they can go to you. You can make, like Optimum. Great. Once they called us and we called Optimum, your problem was taken care of. Before we got a hold of it, you were in a black hole,
Okay?
Okay.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. For myself, I don't need to address the bird illnesses because that was already addressed. I had put down about the Metuchen, that the arts area that they're sending them. It's more of a point of just, man, I'm so jealous because apparently the plan is the Forum Theater is going to be knocked down, but they're going to build a new Forum Theater that's going to be multi-purpose, and it's going to be a big arts area. And I know Edison does not have an old theater to rehabilitate, but I'm just as being such a fan of the arts, I'm just so envious of what Metuchen is doing and hoping that we on the Cultural Arts Commission can have something to crow about soon in terms of a performing arts center. So that's it from me. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? This meeting is adjourned at 8:09 p.m. Thank you, everybody. See you Wednesday.